Well, you recently just mentioned in a couple different questions Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you feel we should remember and honor her tireless legacy and contribution?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank Atlanta Black Star for publishing Marimba Ani's praise song, Dr. Wilson. That is the most comprehensive overview of Dr. Wilson's life and legacy that I've read to date. This past Saturday, we had a memorial service for Dr. Welsing in Washington, D.C. at Metropolitan AME Church. That event was a resounding success. I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that Dr. Welsing's spirit was in the house. I don't know if you've heard about the anointing of Marimba Ani during the course of that program, but Dr. Welsing made her presence felt, as did other ancestors who were there. We had African drumming, we had marvelous tributes. We had over 2,300 people in that church. It is the oldest AME church in Washington, D.C., 200 years old, where Frederick Douglass, where all of our notables were in that church at some time or another. It affirmed that there is an undying love for Dr. Welsing. It affirmed that her work is not in vain. It affirmed that African spirit is real, and that when we embrace our spirituality, marvelous things happen. We also have a fund that we've established, the Cress Welsing Love Fund, where we are encouraging people to make donations to that fund so that we can maintain Dr. Welsing's Cress Welsing Institute. We want to be able to archive her works. We want to be able to produce publications about Dr. Welsing. So what's so critically important at this particular point, and now that she has left the earthly plane, is that we, the living, do our best to preserve the memory of Dr. Welsing in our minds. We have to study her book, The ISIS Papers. We have to study her many DVDs and YouTube videos, her lectures, and understand that her work is more significant now than at any point in time in history. She laid this story out for us about the conflict that we are in against non-melanated people. And as a psychiatrist, Dr. Welsing was oftentimes standing by herself, identifying racism, white supremacy as a mental illness, the most pervasive problem confronting people of color on the planet. And so she was consistent in her analysis of this issue, this problem. We encourage people to study the ISIS papers, the keys to the color. We encourage people to recite every evening the 17 admonitions of Dr. Welsing. We took her 17 stops, the 17 things that Dr. Welsing said that Black people should stop doing. And now that she has become an ancestor, we have reformulated those 17 stops into the 17 admonitions of Dr. Welsing. So Dr. Welsing has, in her death, taken on the persona of Ma'at. So we can now declare to Dr. Welsing that we have stopped gossiping about other Black people. We will not call a Black man or Black woman out of their names. So we are encouraging very simple things that people can do to keep the memory of Dr. Welsing alive in our consciousness. And as long as we do that, then we will make ourselves accessible to her spirit so that she can continue to work through us and inspire us. But we also have an obligation and a responsibility to make sure that those who never knew her, who never read her books, can be introduced to her by people who have her best interest at heart, and not the enemies of African people who would do everything within their power to minimize her importance in order to prevent us from coming into our full melanin greatness. Again, we have to understand that we are functioning under conditions of war, and this warfare takes place in all 9 areas of people activity. So once we are cognizant of who we are, of our relationship with non-melanated people who have controlled our destiny for at least 500 years, then we can begin to understand that there are courageous soldiers who are now ancestors and others who are still alive, who have done the research, who have made the sacrifices, and who have left for us stories, histories, knowledge, science, understanding that we can use now in order to make sure that we protect our minds, protect the minds of our children, protect the minds of those that we know and love, so that we can create this space here in this country, the wealthiest and most powerful nation in human history. You know, it's no accident that we are here right now and we have access to knowledge, we have access to money, we have access to technology. What we need now is the consciousness to use these things that we have access to benefit African people all over the planet.